Hey,
why is it you think it's important that people spend time as a captain?
I just wanted to put a little context into that because
I'm sorry, commander.
Why I think it's important and why I think it's significant that so many assistant chiefs who, again, have very little patrol experience, the nuts and bolts of the job, and then they vault from lieutenant position all the way into assistant chief or maybe even higher. Because I know that me personally, I think I'm an intelligent guy. I understand the job. I did 13 years as a patrol officer. And being a patrol sergeant for the brief time I did before I promoted to lieutenant was very instructive and very, edifying to me. And then the years I spent as a lieutenant, you learn how to. I was an admin lieutenant, and then I was a lieutenant over that community service contingent, and that in itself helped me get up in front of large crowds. Prior to becoming a captain, and address town halls and field questions and think on my feet and all that. And then the 7 years I spent as a commander at Clear Lake, and then at Hobby, and then North, briefly at Traffic. You can't put a price on that kind of experience of running either a large division or a small division like Hobby, but the experience of dealing with people, dealing with issues. I learned a tremendous amount about the job of being a captain.
So what I tell people is being a captain is a lot like being the chief of police of a small department.
It is
most
exactly
departments, most departments in Texas are about 100 officers or less.
I think the average is something like 15.
Yeah.
Something. It's
so
tiny.
If you're a captain at HPD, you are basically running a small police department.
Yeah. And when I was at Clear Lake, I went to all the meetings with all the Seabrook captain or chief, the Webster, all those little places down there. I would meet, and I was simply the captain of Clear Lake, but I was sort of like the captain of the chief of police of Clear Lake. But the experience and everything I gained in 7 years of being a captain taught me, like I said, a lot about the job, but a lot about myself and my strengths and weaknesses and what I could improve on and how to manage people and how to manage the morale. I can't tell you, being a captain, like 90% of your time and effort really is, fielding different things, but the machine runs. The machine, unless you have incompetent people all over the place, the machine runs. You're dealing with just putting out fires, managing personnel issues, managing morale issues, simply treating your people well, going to roll calls, seeing officers in the hallway, at hurricanes and other events where you've got all your people in one room. I loved being there because I could address all of them, tell them they're doing a bang-up job, writing attaboys, just seeing officers and recognizing the same faces and the same names for good quality work coming across your desk, and you see them and you tell them. It was like boosting morale. And these are all just things you learn to do as a captain over 7 years. I'm telling you, it was the best 7 years of my career. The best, absolutely. And these idiots have never done any of that. Or they've been captains briefly and been terrible captains, all only thinking about themselves, only thinking about my prospects of becoming an assistant chief, doing whatever takes to get there by shitting on your people, basically. And I could fill 20 minutes of examples of captains just being horrible to their people. And, it happens.
We'll do that in another video.
Yeah.
All right.
Plenty of time.
Because I want you to write that book. So I'm going to switch gears, though, because one of the things that I think has afflicted, I think it's an affliction, not a benefit overall, are body cameras. Oh. And I think that the approach that was taken with body cameras has just really gone off the rails to the point that it's become a handicap for police officers.
Agree.
So one of the things that I noticed when it was first initiated during the Ferguson shooting, it was the Michael Brown shooting. Mm-hmm. They said, if this had been on camera, we could better understand what happened.
Hands up, don't shoot.
Yeah. Which
never
was
happened.
All bullshit. So the body camera was shoved down every major department's throat. And now what it has shown is how much abuse police officers put up with, how crazy, people are that police officers have to deal with.
Yeah.
And how often complaints that are filed against police officers are completely baseless. The problem is there's no punishment for that. The problem is even in the light of video evidence, prosecutors don't prosecute people for aggravated perjury.
Perjury?
Yeah.
Absurd. That would have a chilling effect on honest complaints.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Under the Texas Penal Code, it's a Class B misdemeanor to file a false complaint. So neither is the false complaint prosecuted, nor is the false testimony provided under oath in either an affidavit or in court punished. Consequently, it's this unequal enforcement of the law, this unequal standard that exists that I think is really designed to do what we've talked about in other videos, and that's just shut down police officers. So
that's at least been the effect.
What Acevedo did,
maybe not the desired effect.
That giant retard of a chief of police did was create this system that sounds good on paper, the audit system, right? So what he has is supervisors have to sit down and they're given a randomly selected number for a body camera video that they're supposed to review of an officer that week, and then look for every conceivable, not even realistic, but just conceivable general order violation, of which there's over 800.
But that's not the purpose, Tom. The purpose is, who knows, but that is the effect.
It's to harass police officers.
Yes, it's to go through and find...
and they want their officers living under this constant fear of review. And everybody say, well, don't you want police officers' actions reviewed? That's not what they're not looking for. Criminal violations.
Right.
They're not looking for, because criminal violations will come to light whether there's body camera video or not.
They're looking for any and all administrative and policy violations.
Yeah, your name tag is missing. Yeah. You're not wearing your seatbelt while you're driving your patrol car up.
You MF'd somebody.
Oh, yeah. Or you're arriving at an aggravated robbery in progress, and you take your seatbelt off before you put your vehicle in park, and you get 2 days off.
The nerve.
Yes. And so that's what they're doing, and they're doing it to harass police officers because that's what it's for. That's the only rational explanation for it.
But we were assured that the body cameras would never be used for that purpose.
And that's all they're used for.
I know.
That's all they're 90% of body camera video is now used to audit and harass patrol officers because that's who wears them.
Yeah.
Homicide detectives don't wear them.
Right.
Sex crimes investigators at juvenile don't wear them.
Are captains required to wear them now?
I have no idea.
I can't remember.
I haven't seen one wear one.
I don't know, but I mean, I wouldn't have even worn one. I thought from the get-go that any positive benefit of wearing a camera at all times in that manner, it was just outweighed by just the BS that would come about from it. But again, I'm telling you, even the union, I think the union was even spouting, oh, God, no, it'll never be used for
they're not
administrative purposes and just to find BS, and it's absolutely used for that.
I'm sure they're all over it.
How many cases? And I'll give you an example, too, of how stupid it is. You've got an officer who's assisting, he's in uniform, patrol officer is assisting undercover units who are making an arrest or something. And they have him as the marked unit zoom in and detain the guy. But at the last second, either another suspect is coming or something, and they tell this guy, hey, you need to throw this guy in your car and get the hell out of here. Go literally across the street into the other parking lot. Because the other guy's coming. They can't see the uniform here. So he literally throws the guy in the back seat and he just hauls ass across the street into the other parking lot and hides. Complaint dropped somewhere along the way as a result of the overall investigation. And they looked at his body camera and they're like, you didn't seatbelt that suspect in. He's like, exigent circumstances. He's like, they're telling me to hurry up. I mean, you didn't seatbelt your suspect and you didn't put your seatbelt on.
Oh, man.
He said, I was literally going like across the street into that parking lot and then behind the building to hide. And to her credit, his captain, Dana Hitzman, wrote a letter saying, look, I don't think this deserves any discipline. This was the exigent circumstances, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, thanks for the letter, Captain. 2 days for not seatbelting your suspect, 2 days for you not putting on your seatbelt. What does that accomplish?
Don't you ever cooperate in an investigation again.
But what's their rationale? Oh, if you'd have gotten in an accident, he'd have been hurt and sued. And that's the rationale. It has to be. But the result is, yes, here, put your balls up here and we're going to smash them. So don't ever do anything like that again.
Don't ever do anything.
I mean, check by with the narcotics again?
That's stupid lawyers.
Yes.
Generating stupid policy.
Yeah. But body cameras are good. They're going to be the be-all, and they're going to exonerate so many officers from bogus complaints.
And they did. Blah, blah, blah. And then they were like, man, this isn't working like we wanted it to. All it's doing is exonerating people.
That wasn't the intent.
But what has really just driven my last nerve, ground my last nerve down, is they punish officers not for what they did, but for what could have happened.
Oh, yeah.
Was there an accident?
No.
Was the suspect injured?
No.
Was the officer injured?
Hell no.
Was there any kind of negligent event that would result in a lawsuit of any kind?
Potentially offensive meme or offensive email ever get out into the public for somebody to bring embarrassment and discredit to the department? No, it didn't happen.
So they punish. People don't realize how often officers are punished not for what actually happened, but what they perceive could have happened.
Yeah. Do you realize what could have happened had you gotten hit with that guy not seatbelted back there? Yeah. But it didn't.
Well, it didn't happen.
Well, 2 days. Think about it. You have 2 days and then the other 2 days. So 4 days to sit at home and not get paid. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Asinine what they do to people.
But that's the mentality. That is.
And I really think that body cameras have now become this crutch. That, they no longer even listen to what the officers say. If it's not on video, it didn't happen. Or if what the officers saw it's not on video, but they can infer something from the video that the officer may not have seen what the officer said he saw. Well, then obviously the officer's lying.
Related to that, you had a videotape. I don't remember if it was a body camera or if it was somebody taping, but it was a videotape of an interaction that a police officer had with somebody. So he must have been off duty because he didn't have a body cam. And complaint follows. And in the course and scope of the investigation, of course, they take a statement from him. They take a statement from the person who's involved, the civilian, and they review the video. And everything didn't line up perfectly, And anybody who's ever, and I think they even teach this at the academy, how memory can be affected under stress. You remember most of it. Like eyewitness testimony is supposedly the gold standard. Eyewitness testimony is oftentimes terrible. Anyway. So they were nitpicking on specific things. It was nothing that was like really, really relevant to the complaint. It was stuff like, well, I remember her getting out and waving her fist at me and saying, you're going to hell. Well, when she got out of the car, we watched the video. She didn't really do that. She didn't wave her fist at all. She just put her hand up and said, you're full of shit. You know what I mean? So he recalled what happened, but under the stress of the event, he didn't get every detail exact. Truthfulness. That's untruthfulness. You're hammered, dude.
Well, why do you think
your statement didn't line up exactly with the video?
Let me tell the audience what truthfulness is. Okay. And does the police department have a, say, dereliction of duty general order? No. Do they have one for lying?
Oh, of course.
Lying?
Not lying.
That's right. That's right. Truthfulness. Yes. Because if you're a dumbass and you think 2 + 2 is 5, that's an untruthful statement. Okay. Even though you're a dumbass. Okay. Yeah. So also, truthfulness is at what the discretion of who? The chief of police.
Yeah, it's very vague, and
because truthfulness means
memorized,
that
but I don't.
We don't teach it that way. So what he said was untruthful. Mm-hmm. That's the reason they have untruthfulness, and they,
and it goes way beyond just being vague enough to where withholding information.
Or the worst part is
it's way beyond that. It's way more than just, well, he admitted you omitted something. That's truthfulness too. Well, I could see that if you leave something out that is pertinent that gives false impression. But it's way more vague than even that. They can hammer you.
If 2 or more officers are at the same scene, and what you remember is not what one of the other officers at the scene remembers.
One of you's lying.
One of you has to be lying.
Yes.
Even though everybody could see the same thing in a different perspective.
Or they'll charge both of you with untruthfulness.
Yes,
making
exactly.
different statements. Yeah. And it's that serious. I mean, it's that common.
That's not an uncommon thing. It ends your career.
Truthfulness is, it's hammered.
You can't go to the academy, you can't go to SWAT, can't go, a whole bunch of different
places. Can't go to narcotics, can't go to CID.
What's the requirement where the truthfulness sign has to be released to the public? I can't remember.
The what?
It's like Brady. They refer to it by the name. It has to be disclosed if an officer has a truthfulness cite in his file.
Oh, that's the Brady rule.
Is it Brady?
Yeah.
Oh, I got it right. I was forgetting it.
Because it's on your department resume.
Yes, it's the Brady rule. They have to disclose this guy has truthfulness, so he may not make a good witness. You don't want to put him on the stand,
Yeah.
But there are times where cites change.
Well, and the public should know that untruthfulness cite on an officer's record doesn't mean he lied. A lot of times it doesn't mean he lied. It's don't think it's the same thing because it's not.
Right.
And they don't want it to be, because lying you have to prove.
Well, yeah, the truthfulness deals with your lack of perfection. Your statement
Yes,
wasn't
exactly.
as perfect as we thought it should be. Ergo, we think you have an issue with the truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why it's called untruthfulness, not lying.
That's and because lying you have to prove.
Right.
So back to my original point is now with body cameras, what you do have a problem with is when officers do go back to testify, they read their report and then they watch the body camera video. And unfortunately, that becomes a substitute for what they remember. And so if something happened off camera, if something happened before the camera started rolling, or if something happened after the camera stopped recording, it ceases to be evidence. Even though it may be something that is material and substantial to the progress of the case or the events at the scene, everybody now functions under this presumption that it didn't happen.
Yeah. It's not recorded.
Well, yeah,
obviously
it's not on your body camera video.
Oh,
yeah, but
God.
I did see it happen.
But
even if it's a logical explanation, it doesn't matter.
Related to that, but kind of almost the inverse is Acevedo. And imagine bailing out of your car in a stressful situation, maybe a guy in the middle of the street chopping somebody up with a machete or something, and you literally slam on the brakes, jump out, end up shooting the guy. Acevedo basically told everybody, if you don't record, if you're involved in a shooting and your body camera is not running, you're fired. You're fired because obviously you didn't start that body camera for a reason, and that shooting is now in question. And I'm like, are you kidding? He was adamant about that if you are involved in some kind of use of force, especially deadly force, and you don't have that camera running, you're fired. No questions asked.
But my defense to that would be that's not how I was trained. Because whenever you go to qualify with your weapon,
Tell it to the arbitrator.
You don't train to start your camera before you fire your weapon. You train to fire your weapon to
Right.
win the gunfight, not the video fight.
Well, the arbitrator doesn't care because they might not get called back.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the
So-
new system,
Yeah.
Arbitrators are splitting the baby, as they say, and
Yeah.
still screwing the officer just so they can get called back to their next arbitration.
Yep.
You got to keep the baby fed.
Because if an arbitrator rules in favor of an officer,
They'll never use them again.
the city of Houston will object to
Imagine
them
that.
every time.
Imagine that.
Yeah, because
Good
that's
Lord.
fair. So arbitrations are just totally fair. And completely fair.
Promotion process has now completely been made fair.
What do you think
The
about the
arbitration
promotion process in HPD?
I think the promotion process is I'll go back to how it used to be.
There you go. I was going to say, take us through the history of it.